6 of homemade with TGP. Very exciting. We're in Passover mode, so we are now going to have both Deb Grodenchik and Ellen Wasserman teach us how to make kosher for Passover Mandel bread. And you guys can start. Yay.
All right, I'm going to start because we had a little mishap before with the cat and the oven timer went off and I couldn't take care of it. So that's the culprit.
Here's the cat.
And the edges are a little dark, but this is what it's going to look like when the magic of TV says, here it is. But I want to cut it now and then put it back in the oven double bake because this is not the regular one. The regular recipe in your cookbook, I don't ever put back to double bake because I don't like the crispy. I like the soft, moist. But the almond flour, which is what I use to make this, needs a little bit more time. And I like to separate the pieces so it cooks through a little bit better. So I'm going to see, I don't know if I can let you watch this, but let's see if I can prop this a little more so you can, yeah, look at that. So I got my little handy dandy knife. It's nice and plastic, but sharp so it doesn't cut the pan. So I'm going to cut it into bars. And then I'm going to put it back in the oven after the pieces are all separated out. So that way it'll cook a little bit better through. Though it was in the oven a little longer than planned, so it might be fine right now. But I'm going to do it anyway. And your oven, like Ellen said before, needs to be at 350. Preheat when you're baking. And I put this back in for about 5 or 10 minutes at 350 again, just to let the double bake happen. So I'm going to set the oven up.
Ellen, you're doing sign language?
That's me. You know when when like the mayor talks
for a few minutes.
That's
so
me.
Ellen is going to make hers first because she's got to get hers in the oven, and then I'm going to make mine, and I'll put mine in after. Okay?
And the difference between
What's the difference?
Right, the difference between the two. Good question, Yuri. Is I am going straight from the recipe, well, a little vanilla added, but Deb is doing it for gluten-free. She's what else?
I'm doing the healthy version.
The healthy version.
No sugar, no cake meal. I'll tell you all about my ingredients while I'm cooking, and there are lots of alternatives, so we'll get there. But Ellen, you're on with the original recipe.
All right, so welcome to my kitchen, and I just wanted to say, usually I know things pretty well when it's a recipe I like so much, but since I only do this once a year, I'm really going to have to keep looking down. But let's all start, anybody who's cooking with us, with the 2 cups of sugar. I put in a little bit less because I know Alan goes crazy with all that sugar. And 2 sticks of butter or margarine. And let's mix them together in a nice bowl. And we are going to cream your sugar and your butter together. So takes a little while to, hopefully your butter's a little soft-ish, but just kind of mix your butter and your sugar together.
Did you practice in a mixer, Ellen? Mixer.
I was just going to say, I do mine in the mixer. Ellen does hers by hand, so it doesn't really matter either way. I've always done the mixer.
Yeah, because it's for Passover. I don't have really I don't have a mixer, so I do it by hand, just with a fork. I just mush the butter. Is everybody who's doing it have a mixer? Or am I the only one doing it by hand? I can't see. I only see really Deb and Yuri.
I see Robin trying to talk.
I use a tiny handheld mixer.
Say it again, Robin.
I'm doing it by hand because I didn't feel like taking out my mixer.
Okay.
So
mine's right here, so no problemo. Either way it works.
So we're all probably going to be working at the same time. What about Lisa? How's Lisa doing with her butter and her sugar? Is she all right?
I don't know. I don't see her.
Mashing it with the masher. She's doing it by hand too. She's strong like woman,
Strong like bull.
All right. Keep mushing it.
I haven't bought my Passover margarine yet, so I'm trying it with safflower oil.
Oh, interesting.
So we'll see.
I don't know if it'll work with a liquid oil. Can't try.
I'm going to try. I have friends who make banana bread with liquid oil, so.
Deborah Abramowitz, I remember when you were making soup and you said it's very forgiving. Baking is a little bit not as forgiving. So
That's
A
true.
little more
yeah,
precise.
so
Yeah.
you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens. I probably should have taken out my margarine. Oh yeah, I am using margarine. Right. If you want to keep it, parb, you got to use margarine. That's
Yeah,
right.
I took mine out hours ago, so it'd be nice and soft. But I'm using a mixer, so.
I'm not that smart. Not that smart. You know.
Well, I did my test run. I took out for both at the same time.
Well, you know what I'm doing now? I'm just using my
Mushy, mushy.
Okay.
Is it supposed to come together like be nice and fluffy and creamy?
It's well, look, it's
Mine's
Like
just
when you-
incorporated.
right.
It's
Right.
not like when you're mixing, I don't know, sugar with certain things, like I guess egg yolks or something will get a little creamier. But when I do it with the butter, it just kind of gets incorporated. It's kind of like granular butter.
Oh
There's
yeah,
no
that's
better way to
good.
describe it.
Granule butter. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So when I
Yeah.
use it with my new KitchenAid.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. So you'll see. I'll try and like take my bowl out and show you what things look like in between, okay? Because I can't show you into the bowl.
Right.
Okay.
Well, so far this is what mine looks like, right? Like I said, granulated sugar. It's like a big glob of
Butter.
butter.
Right.
All right. Are we all up to the same spot? Is everybody ready to add their 6 eggs one at a time?
You know, I just want to tell you that I've been making that recipe probably for 20 years and I've never creamed the butter and the sugar. My recipe never called for it, even though the ingredients were all the same. I just dump everything in together and I do that, what she's doing now.
Okay.
Really? Well, this recipe says add eggs one at a time, beating after each one. So let's add one at a time. And we'll beat after each one. I'm not using my fingers, that's disgusting.
So I definitely have to try yours to see if it comes out the same or any different.
So you just mix it all together? Is that what you're saying?
Everything, all the ingredients except for the chocolate chips.
All
If I
right.
wanted to make them chocolate mandel bread, could I use cocoa powder?
Absolutely.
So what would that replace?
I don't think I would replace anything.
Right.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe a 1/4 cup of the potato starch. I would do a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder.
Yeah, and I would think you take it away from the because there's so much cake meal and not as much corn potato starch. I'd take it away from the cake meal. But you know, I just made a recipe. I just made a recipe that added cocoa, unsweetened cocoa, and you could just add it. I don't think it would like change it if you just.
It depends, because if it's a very dry recipe and you add more dry ingredient, you may need to add something wet to balance it. But if you add the vanilla on top of it, that might help balance it.
So everybody can see Jacob came down to be a tester.
And eat chocolate chips.
Okay, so far I've added 2 of the eggs. I'm starting with my 3rd. Everybody else up to eggs also?
Right.
Who's the handsome food critic?
That's my Jacob, Josie.
That's your hunky Jacob.
Thank you. See, I have 3 eggs in so far, and ooh, can you guys see how it looks?
Mhm.
That's how it looks so
A
far.
little bit.
Mhm. All right. 4th egg in. See, now it becomes nice and soft and more liquidy.
A lot of eggs.
A lot of eggs, a lot of
That's
eggs, a
good,
lot
so,
of
yeah.
sugar, a lot of margarine.
That Passover is just a lot of eggs.
Every recipe has 6 eggs. I don't care what it is.
Exactly. It's all you eat, all Passover egg. All right, I'm doing my 6th. Oh, thank you. Well, he became my helper. I'm doing
Me
my
too.
egg right now.
I'm doing my 6.
And Lisa and Deborah, are you up to your 6th egg?
Yeah.
Well, For your viewing pleasure, the double baked.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
No, you didn't put them on,
Can you see?
you didn't put them on the side?
On what side?
When you
No,
double
these
baked
are,
them?
I make them very flat with the almond flour. I didn't turn them on the side because they're more like bars.
Okay,
So if I were doing it like the football shape and then cutting it, I would turn it on side more like with Scotty. But this is just to make sure the almond flour cooks through.
okay,
Because I never like it super crunchy like biscotti.
all right.
All right, after we all did the 6 eggs and they're all mixed in, I'm gonna ask Jacob because my hands are disgusting. Can you give me 2 vanilla, 2 teaspoons of vanilla into the same liquid mixture? Bonnie, does your mixture have vanilla?
No,
Yeah, this is,
So Bonnie has my recipe.
yeah. There's a recipe in the TGP cookbook, which is what I thought I was using, but nope, a little extra. All right, it's gonna be a little vanilla-y.
It's the same recipe except the vanilla.
Yeah, vanilla instead of salt. That's it.
Oh, I put salt in too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't salt anything extra. Okay,
You
so
need it- I thought it said both.
put this bowl aside for a second. And in another bowl, we're gonna mix the cake meal and the potato starch. So the cake meal is 2 3/4 cups. Is my cake meal. And cake meal, and what was the other one? And cake meal and potato starch. Where's my hand? Potato starch. Okay, and mix them in a second bowl. Bonnie, you're gonna say you put it all in one bowl, right?
yeah, when somebody gave me the recipe, like I said, 20 years ago, they never told me any of that. So that's how I always did it. I always put it all together and that was it. And it comes out fine, really good.
Well,
I know, but whenever I make cookies a lot. I always cream the butter and sugar first. That's like
Right,
a
so now I gotta-
standard thing.
Now I gotta help us. So he's mixing the cake meal and the potato starch. And as soon as it looks like it's kind of all mixed together, we're gonna take that and put it into the liquid bowl. And we are actually almost done. All right, show them how nice it looks without tipping it over. That's it. That's just the cake meal and the potato starch mixed together. Put it in the bowl with the liquid.
I have a question. What exactly is cake meal?
You know what? I'm gonna read you exactly what cake meal is.
Isn't it finer ground matzo meal?
I know. I mean, yes, my mother used it a million times, but what exactly is it?
It's technically ground Passover matzah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh, what is this?
Folks, it's matzo meal just ground to a finer consistency like a flour.
Feels like it has a little.
Oh, so it's matzo meal.
It's a matzo meal is a coarser texture, just like when you get almond meal versus almond
Right.
flour.
Okay.
Right.
One is more coarse, one is more finely ground to a more of a powder consistency. And just FYI,
You can
when I
actually
mix
make
my
your own-
flours together, I take a little whisk and I kind of mush them together so it blends them
Oh
nicely.
yeah, I had my whisk. Oh, I got
Very
it.
simple little muffin, but it
Yeah.
works.
Nope, too late.
I
Okay,
don't
so
remember
now
the list.
taking your dry ingredients, put it in with your wet ingredients, and now Jacob is going to mix them together.
They actually, I was reading something that says if you don't have cake meal, you could take matzah meal and put it in something and grind it really.
Yeah, put it in a food
make your own.
processor.
That makes sense.
Just
Yeah.
warm it up. Done.
Okay, so mix it up
Like
good.
if you don't have powdered sugar, you can put sugar in the food processor, warm it up, and you can make it powdered sugar if you have to. When you're really stuck.
That's what it tastes like. Okay. Make sure it gets going
Oh, gee.
under and over and under.
Fold it in, Jacob. Fold it in.
Full.
Wait, fold the cheese. Fold the cheese. What was that from Schitt's Creek?
Mhm.
Fold in the cheese. That's only a reference if you watch it.
One day.
He's doing a good job, and I'm all.
Because.
All right. So while he's folding it together, we're gonna, in a few seconds, add the chopped walnuts if you'd like them. and the chocolate chips. Some people
Dina,
only add
what are
one.
those bowls? Matzo bowls?
Yes, it's matzo ball soup as my background now.
Okay.
Wait,
Looks
oh,
good.
look, it has multiple soup as a background.
Mm.
I like the frogs, Dina. I like the frogs. You got to send those to me for this data. You feel good?
What I'm doing for my Seder, sending out these different backgrounds to give people the options.
Dina, is this, are your different options, you have 10 of them, like the plagues?
Oh, I should do that though.
I mean, I
That's
noticed you had 4
genius.
cups of wine and 5 frogs, and this is 6 bowls of soup.
No, but I found these online. I will look for that though. 10 plagues in a, yeah, that would be interesting. That's a great idea.
Okay, is everybody feeling comfortable with their dry ingredients and wet ingredients all mixed up? Everybody good? 'Cause
So is
Anthony-
it like a cookie batter now?
Yes, yeah. Deb, I would say
It's
yes.
very thick.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
Yes.
Very,
Thick, right?
It is relatively thick, yes.
yeah.
It kind of globs
Mhm.
off the spoon or a spatula, whatever, onto the sheet.
For all of your fingers.
That too.
All right, we are going to add in, while he's doing it, I'm dropping in the walnuts. Like, oh, you want a small one?
Yeah.
No. There we go. Walnuts are in. Is everybody adding in nuts or people? Oh, I think Robin said she's not adding nuts. Lisa is very quietly cooking and I can't see her. So how's
She's
Lisa
got
doing?
her measuring cup of, is that nuts or chocolate chips, Lisa? Nuts.
Nuts.
Lisa, you can unmute yourself to talk to us.
Both. I'm using both.
You
You mix
sure?
it.
All right, I'm using both as well.
That's
Here's
the
my
best of
semi-sweet chocolate chips.
All right. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but one whole container of chocolate chips is a lot of chocolate chips.
Not enough.
You ready?
It's about a cup usually. Some people use a half a cup.
The more the better.
The whole
Yeah,
thing.
The
exactly.
grandfather says there's never enough chocolate chips. There's never too
Whatever
many
you want
chocolate
to
chips.
add, you
Right.
add.
She's right.
It said add a bag of 12 ounces, which is a bag.
Yeah, I usually use one bag. It was just easier because
Oh,
I
I
made
think
2
Big was
loaves.
10 ounces actually. It still feels like it's a lot of the chips. And they're not mini. They're regular size.
I never use mini on these.
Yeah.
I've always used regular size.
All right. So at this point, everything should be all mixed together. And you should have a grease cookie sheet. And we're going to form them into 2 loaves. So Jacob and I are going to split.
Did you say grease cookie sheet?
I said grease cookie sheet, but what would you like to use?
I just
I
put
took
parchment paper on.
parchment paper and I sprayed it.
Yes.
I don't even
that's
spray it. I just put parchment paper on and it's done.
Excellent. I'm usually better prepared. I haven't
Never
bought my
sprayed,
clothes.
never had a problem. What do you want?
All right, so now split that big glob into 2 and put a loaf on each pan or
Tug of war.
there you go. Oh, you got a bigger one. All right.
Is the
and-
technical term glob?
yeah, the glob.
Glob. Okay, just wondering.
Just wondering, what do you think? Okay, make it into what you think a Mandelbrot, what did she say? Mandelbrot looks
Mandelbrot.
like.
It looks like a half a football.
Mandelbrot.
Tell me.
Broit. Broit.
It's very sticky. No?
It'll definitely be tacky, yeah.
Yep.
But it shouldn't be sticky all over your hands, sticky.
Mine looks.
Yeah, it's a little
How mine looks. And let's see how Jacob's looks. Jacob's got the thicker one. He got a little more of the blob. All right, and now we are going to bake it in an oven for 40.
Do you put cinnamon sugar on yours?
Yep. What I did was, thank you.
Sometimes I forget.
Yep, I took sugar and cinnamon and I mixed it together to make, what do they call that? Cinnamon sugar.
Exactly.
And then you sprinkle some on top.
Mm.
Mm.
This is so delicious. I'm already salivating.
That's good with coffee. Dip it in the
Oh my
coffee.
God. Yep, I don't drink
Right.
coffee, but it sounds like it would be good.
Tea.
Tea, definitely.
Tea.
Definitely. Woo. Okay, and after this, we're gonna stick it in the oven for 45 minutes. And that's why I wanted to get mine in first. So Deb can now take over with the healthier, because as we all saw, there was a lot of sugar and a lot of margarine, and which is not very healthy. But
Wait, can you see mine?
all right, so we're going into the oven right
No, who's showing us theirs? I don't see.
Me.
Ooh.
now. Oh, she got
Robin.
two.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Excellent.
All right, so anybody interested, other than Michelle, I know you'd like a gluten-free version, right? So I'm doing gluten-free, but I've been on a very specialized diet where I'm not eating any grains at all. So I can't even do the matzah meal, cake meal. So I'm switching to almond flour. And I'm trying to stay away from all the starches. So the potato starch, I'm swapping out for coconut flour. So if you don't mind that little tiny aftertaste of coconut, I'm swapping that out as well. And I'm not supposed to be having any sugar. And I don't ever do artificial sweeteners. This I don't believe is kosher for Passover, but it's not Passover yet and I'm still eating it. So I use monk fruit sweetener. And it's a 1-for-1 trade-off.
Yeah.
No sugar, no calories, no nothing. It's all sugar alcohols. So for those who know about their net carbs, you take these right off the carb count and you get down to 0. So
Wow,
this is a
okay.
1-for-1 switch, though I just saw they have on the website a baking version. So it's supposed to melt and cook even better than regular monk fruit sweetener. So this is the traditional. But I actually took some of that and mixed it with cinnamon and made my own monk fruit sugar substitute cinnamon thing to top. So why not? So I tried to really go as healthy as I could. So I'm going to see if I can turn this without knocking the computer over and show you my mixer. And I'm going to take my butter, which I took out a long time ago. I'm going to scoop it into my KitchenAid. And my monk fruit sweetener. And I'm only making a half a recipe because I already had the half batch I made earlier. So I didn't need that much in the house, especially since we're not having this for Passover. So I figured it's going to have to get eaten really fast. So I'm going to whir this. So pardon the noise for a minute.
Is it on?
It's coming together pretty nicely with the sweetener.
Okay.
I just want to scrape the sides. Oh, it's nice and soft. Yeah, definitely better to take out your butter or margarine early because this is actually getting kind of nice and yellow fluffy. When it's cooler, it's more like granulated butter stuff. So give me a second. I'm gonna get some off the bottom. Okay. Now I'm gonna put my eggs in as soon as I get the excess butter off of this spatula. And I'll do them one at a time, just like Ellen did. I think, Bonnie, what happens is that it just incorporates the butter and sugar better into everything because sometimes the butter can get clumpy if you don't do that first. And then, you know, you start mixing it with the eggs and all the other dry ingredients. So we go 1 egg. Two eggs. Third eggs in, I want to stir this up, mix it off the sides, and then do it again. Bugsy has input. He wants whatever I'm making, but he can't have it. Oh, that was Bailey. Okay. All right. So this is actually the butter and the sugar are nice. Well, sugar-ish thing are nice and fluffy. That's David throwing things in the kitchen.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. So I'm going to scrape all this off.
Deb, while you're doing that, I just want to tell everybody about a conversation I had with Dina about why, because I do have a brand new mixer, but we can't just pull off the blades and have a kosher for Passover blades, right? Right. Where's Dina? Dina, tell us what you told us before about the KitchenAid.
So I I'm in a Facebook group where I actually asked about this because I wanted to know last year about keeping my KitchenAid mixer out and using it. But because when you use your mixer, even though like I wipe it down with Clorox wipes and stuff and the sponge or whatever afterwards, there's always still like a little bit of flour somewhere in the crevices or some kind of ingredients that you can't get to. So because of that, first they told me to ask my rabbi, because you know it was a Jewish women's group. And the second thing was just that you never know what's in there, so they don't want you to worry about like, oh, there might be something that's not kosher or Passover that can get into whatever you're making. So I did wind up I wanted a new KitchenAid mixer because mine is like 15 years old and it was starting to slow down a bit when I was using it recently for challah. And so I ordered a new one. And so I just opened it up and put it with my Passover stuff. So it's now set for Passover. And then afterwards I'll take it. It'll just be my regular one, but because I have a hand mixer normally for Passover, but whatever.
Okay, so back to dry ingredients. I got my almond flour, my coconut flour, my little dash of salt. I don't use vanilla in this. I never have, so not changing now. And then just a little whisk. And it just kind of breaks up any clumps and gets all the dry ingredients incorporated. And then once you think you don't see any more coconut flour sitting by itself in a corner and no more salt sitting on top, I take it and I mix it in slowly, but not too slowly. I'll put a little bit in. Sometimes things fly. And again, I just do the mixer.
And that's also why, because when you're mixing with a mixer, a KitchenAid or something, when I've had it where my flour has flown all over the place.
Yeah, you have
when
to go
I turn
slow
the
to
mixer
start.
on by mistake a little too quickly, I've gotten flour in my eye, all over myself. So
Yeah.
that's another reason why you can't really use it from Passover to
Yeah,
for
especially
regular
with potato
Passover.
starch. Potato starch will fly the entire kitchen over. Oh my God, it's crazy. All right, so my stuff is all nice together. I'm gonna dump in some chips. I'm gonna let the mixer put those together for a second. And that's it. And I'm gonna take all the stuff off the blade. My oven is already preheated. So like I said, I don't do anything to my pan other than put a little piece of parchment down. And then I try and shape it as best I can. Now this, because the almond flour and the coconut flour absorbs a lot of liquid. So this thing is thicker than the regular recipe that I've experienced. So sometimes it takes me a little while to finagle the dough down into a nice flat, and I like it flat. I don't like it too football-y shaped because again, the almond flour takes a little bit longer to cook. So you'll find that gluten-free ingredients don't always behave as you want them to. But again, it's pretty consistent with what Ellen and Jake had, a glob of dough with chocolate chips hanging in it. So I'm going to put that onto my pan with a fresh sheet of parchment. Can you see what I'm doing? Yes, good. And I don't do the hand thing. I take it and I smash it up with my spatula as best I can. And I usually use the second one to get all the goo off. Hang on, can we stand this up any taller? There we go. You get to see all the cat food, yay. And then scrape as much as you can off because you definitely want to eat all this and not wash it. And then you sprinkle it with your cinnamon sugar, or I'm going to use my cinnamon and monk fruit sweetener. Now there are many, many, many variations. Like I said, this was almond flour and coconut flour. What I had tried the other day was just a little bit of coconut flour. So instead of the 3/4 of a cup of potato starch, I did 1/4 cup of coconut flour and 1/2 cup of another starchy flour like tapioca starch, or you could use potato starch or whatever it is you wanted to do. But I was trying to get away from the starches. So I think Debra Bromwood said she was going to use almond flour today and potato starch. So I'm curious to know how that's going to come out because I didn't do that exclusively. I always had the coconut flour in it. And then I sprinkle, just a little bit.
Well, if you
Very-
want, all of you who are making this can bring some pieces down to the office and we could do a taste test for you.
Ooh,
And
what
get
day
back
good for
to
you?
you.
What are you sprinkling on there?
This is monk fruit sweetener
Oh,
and
with the
cinnamon, but I would not use this at Passover because the monk fruit sweetener is kosher, but it's not kosher for Passover that I found. But you can use xylitol instead. I went on Aaron's website this morning and their almond flour, they have like 3 different brands that are kosher Passover. They have coconut flour that's kosher Passover, and they also have xylitol, which is another sugar alcohol similar to the monk fruit sweetener. But it's I didn't have any of that in the house, and it's not Passover yet, so this is what I'm using. So you can use xylitol or any other sweetener that you like of whatever variety and just mix it with cinnamon, and then you get your cinnamon sugar. And this is what mine looks like before I
Deb?
put it in the oven.
Deb, just one thing, I read that xylitol is very dangerous for dogs, that you have to have
Yes,
a
there are
dog.
certain
make
things that dogs can't get to, but I would never let my animals eat any of this stuff, so. Also xylitol, any of the sugar alcohols, some people, Barry, shush. Some people have problems with sugar alcohols, it affects their stomach, and I've never had a problem with it. I've had many different sugar alcohols in different products. I guess if you eat a lot of it, it could have a problem, or you could have a problem with it, but I've never experienced that myself. So they say, you know, when I read websites, some people do experience stomach distress. So just be careful not to eat too much of anything at first with the sugar alcohols, and then you can try. And if you want a little bit more of a normal portion and it doesn't bother you, you know you're good. But I would try to start small if you know you have stomach issues. That's the only issue I've ever heard with sugar alcohols. But sugar itself causes people tremendous distress for all different kinds of reasons. So anyway, this is going in my oven. My timer is set for 45 minutes and I'm hitting start. And now if you want, we have tons of time to talk about any questions anybody has about the alternative ingredients or anything else you want to ask about, or even other recipes. Because I think Ellen may have some information for us on other recipes, because we weren't doing a whole everything you can do for Passover. We were doing Passover desserts. So
Correct.
we had Robin's matzah crack and then the Mandel bread tonight. But Ellen has been very generous to share ideas of recipes, and maybe we can persuade Dina to maybe send things out to us if we
Correct.
find something really appealing.
I have a vegetarian kosher for Passover recipes and desserts. I
Wow.
have just so many recipes that I have gathered through the years that I have this very big binder. So if anybody's looking for any kind of recipes, I probably will be able to find it for you guys in a couple of snaps. So just anybody ask away. Well, I have 35 minutes left on my mandel bread, and
What's your favorite side dishes?
my favorite side dish, we're sweet. You know, people either like savory or sweet.
Right.
I have a Passover matzah kugel that's sweet that I love. And it's with cinnamon and apples and nuts and pineapple chunks and matzah and 6 eggs. Bonnie is right. Everything falls for 6 eggs. I'm looking right at it. And raisins and it's delicious. So we like the sweet stuff.
Is that from Grandma Ray?
No, this is from my
You must have the same one I have, because I have a matzah raisin farfel kugel, and
Yeah.
it also has 6 eggs. You know, you make it with matzah farfel and raisins, a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and I mark it because I got it off the online, and whenever I try any of these recipes, if I say it's good, I write down, use it again,
Oh,
and this was a hit.
Mine says delish.
Well, they said they can't even tell the difference, that it wasn't noodles. It was like so
Right.
good.
Right.
That one came out great.
Yeah. You know,
I
the
have a
other thing,
request.
Oh,
If anyone's interested, last year I made a fig and almond gluten-free mandel bread, which I liked a lot.
that sounds good.
But you have to like figs and almonds,
Figs and almonds. That sounds
and get almond flour.
I have a request from anybody who has anything like this. About, I'm trying to think how long ago this was. It had to be close to 25 years ago. My grandmother came in from Florida and I made Passover for the entire family, the first time I ever did that. And I was looking for recipes and playing with different things. And I found this recipe that was meant to be cauliflower, mushroom, and I think farfel, but I put broccoli in instead. But regardless, it was the mushroom and the combination, and again, it called for cauliflower and the farfel, and it was a nice, not too dry and not too wet. It was like the perfect mix. It was so delicious. Everybody loved it. I found it either in Newsday or New York Times. I have no idea what happened to it. I have never been able to find it again. I've looked, I even went to the newspapers in the microfiche at the library for roughly the year I thought it would happen. And I looked in the magazine section because I think that's where it was. And I looked at every single recipe they had for weeks before Passover, and I never was able to find it. And it's something I've been trying to recreate or find again somehow over the years. For 25 years, I can't find it. Anybody know
Yeah.
anything about that?
In this week's food section, I have to find it. Okay. It's oil, Spanish onion, mushrooms, rosemary, farfel. Well, they call them broken into small pieces. It's the same thing, and parsley. So you could just add. We could just you could just add in your vegetables, which is what I
just didn't know what to do with the farfel, because every time I tried to put the farfel in, either got too soggy or it was too dry. I could never get that perfect mix, and whatever they suggested in that recipe was amazing, and I've never been able to duplicate the farfel part.
Well, this
The vegetable's not a problem.
This says to cook it in a skillet undisturbed. I don't know. This is
Cook the
last
farfel with the
Wednesday's
vegetables,
food section.
but cook the farfel with the vegetables.
I'll text you once I
Text me.
review
Take a
it.
picture of the recipe and send it to me.
Okay,
I'd
good.
appreciate that. I'll ask my mom to pull it out of the paper for me,
All right.
because I'll see it online. But it's the farfel texture. It's either too gloppy or too dry, and it's never been perfect. And that first year was amazing.
I'm gonna keep looking, but is he Reed still on? Because I don't see that many names. Is you read on? Because
I'm here.
you are, I remember when you started or taught me how to make Passover rolls. And that was an exciting, that was a very exciting time in my family, because we were able to have burgers on rolls, if I remember. So did everybody else?
It's in the book though, in the
Is?
And the Schechter book. I think
And
one
the
of them's my version.
And one is mine. My Passover rolls, I think, are in the temple cookbook, like a recipe above or two above my Mandel bread.
I
think they're all the same, very similar.
Yeah, my Passover rolls is at the bottom of the page where the Mandel bread is. That's my grandmother's recipe.
So for those of us who don't have those cookbooks, if someone can email me them, that would be great.
Those two recipes?
Yes.
I have them right here. I got Irit's and I got mine on two separate pages. I got a million notes on mine though, so. you may
Yeah,
like
send me
better.
You can take
both, that way
pictures.
I can learn how to make these.
Coming your way
You want
right
me to
now.
take pictures? Okay, you're gonna do it.
Yep.
Good.
So I asked Ellen for a savory matzo waffle recipe,
The one
but
Oh, wait, should I be recording this part, or should we get off of Facebook and?
No, I think, well, you don't think people are interested?
I don't know. I just want to know. Like, do you think people we want this part recorded?
I don't know.
We're not doing anything wrong, but we're teaching more things. Well, we'll all think about it, but in answer to Robin's question about the savory, I do have a zucchini leek matzah kugel
Ooh.
that was in 2019. I wrote yummy, which means it was yummy.
I
so,
want that
so
recipe.
I already got the Eric doesn't eat zucchini. So that I was gonna make
I
that.
know.
I was gonna ask you for the recipe. So
So
we have
we-
to nix that one.
We
Just
have
substitute another vegetable.
one of the things that my mom does that she got from my brother-in-law's mom from Barbara Mann is what they call crunchies, where you take matzo farfel and you put it into like a Ziploc bag with some oil, and then you put some garlic powder and onion powder, paprika and seasoning on it. Shake it up like you're doing like shake and bake. You know, you shake it up and then you put it onto a baking sheet and you bake it for I don't know how long or at what temperature because I've never made it, but it's the
350.
most delicious thing to put into your soup. It's just like,
Oh.
Oh, it's like monthly.
Can
you
you,
know?
can you send the recipe?
I will send you the recipe.
That sounds
I have a very
yummy.
simple mushroom onion matzo kugel. I mean, that's like, there's no matzo farfel, 2 large onions, 1 pound of mushrooms, 4 eggs, and 2 tablespoons of oil. And then you can add salt, pepper, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's nice and easy. And that's, I'm sure that's savory, especially depending on what ingredients you put in. Just like
Ooh,
that.
Ellen, I
Okay.
want that one.
Take
That sounds
a
good.
picture.
Yeah, I'll add
Can
broccoli
we,
to that. and then have
instead
it
of
on-
taking a pic, can we take a picture and then send it into homemade? So we can all see it?
Yes.
So
Alright.
here's what, yeah. So Ellen, do you have a scanner?
I could scan it as we speak. Maybe we should shut this off. Now you're right.
Okay, let me stop.
Thank
We're
you
gonna
for
stop
coming to
recording
our
now.
kitchen. Thank you for coming to our kitchen.
Thanks for coming to our Passover.
You could
We'll be
scan with your
back in 2
iPhone.
weeks. We're all gonna stay on, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for our next session of Homemade with TGP, which will be on Sunday, April 11th. April is Israeli Food Month. Irit, answer my email.
I don't make any of those things other than schnitzel. I don't make any of them. So I don't know. I don't like shakshuka.
So make us your schnitzel. I hear
Make us
Guy
your
loves it.
schnitzel. I got an
Schnitzel is a
air
joke.
fryer.
Everybody's making schnitzel.
Okay, let me stop recording. Stop recording.
So